Welcome to For the Love of Books, a podcast by Lanarkshire Libraries. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Lanarkshire Libraries podcast For the Love of Books. My name is Chris Wilson, the E-Services Librarian, and today I'm joined by Craig Tobin, the Macmillan Project Manager, and the reason he is here because this time of year is all about the world's biggest coffee morning, which is a promotion by one of our partner organisations, Macmillan Cancer Support. The official date, which for that is the 30th of September, which is a Friday. And we invited Craig onto the podcast to find out a little bit more about that, and also just to talk a little bit about books and cakes and fundraising and stuff like that. So Craig, thank you for coming and talking to us on the podcast this morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. I hope that you have got your coffee, because we're kind of seeing this as a bit of a virtual coffee morning. But so have you got a coffee this morning with you?
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't have done this without a coffee and a cake, Chris. You can't see this, but I'm actually surrounded by cake. I can't get enough. Not many people know this, actually, but this is my 10th year as a Macmillan professional, having worked across pretty much the whole of Scotland. So this is like my 10th year of coffee morning. And thank you. We used to dread it this time of year, and I'll explain why. Because if you've been on any kind of diet, so you kind of dread this coming around, because with so many coffee mornings to visit, everybody wants you to taste their cake, and you can't say no. So you end up having to try everyone's home baking, trying all the favourite cakes, and putting on a bit of weight.
Well, as you know, from meetings and stuff like that, I don't know do coffee and tea, so I have got a hot chocolate with me. So the closest equivalent I could do is a hot drink for a virtual coffee morning. And I also have stolen one of my son's little cakes because he's obsessed by angel slices, and or as he affectionately knows them as pink slices. And I have kind of stolen one of them. I will replace it, but for this morning. So we've got we're all sorted for coffee and cakes, which is fantastic. Now the whole point of this is to link up about the promotion, the coffee morning, as we said. Craig, do you want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I brought along, or I've pre-planned someone to explain in much better detail than I can. But coffee morning for me is such a simple concept, and it's been going for some time, and it really came about because someone donated to Macmillan Cancer Support the price of a coffee, and it kind of evolved from there. Such a simple concept with such maximum outcomes, the fact that it raises so much. So here's Kirstine Plop, the fundraising manager in Scotland, area fundraising manager from Macmillan Cancer Support, who is going to talk to us about coffee morning, the history of coffee morning, and why it's so important for charities like Macmillan Cancer Support.
Hi everyone, my name is Kirstine Plop and I am one of the fundraising managers for Macmillan Cancer Support. It's my absolute pleasure to get the opportunity to come and tell you a little bit about an incredible world's biggest coffee morning taking place on Friday the 30th of September this year. One of the best things about our coffee morning is that it can be whatever and wherever you want it to be. We have seen our supporters hosting their coffee mornings at home, on their driveway, in a local hall or even online. Whatever suits you best, the world really is your oyster. You could hold a garden get-together and you could throw a barbecue. You could treat some of your colleagues to some delicious homemade bakes, or you could even get together with your friends and your family for a takeaway. Every coffee morning has the power to raise vital funds to help people living with cancer. Your support, your bakes, and any tasty treats that you provide means that we can continue doing whatever it takes to ensure people living with cancer have access to emotional, physical, and practical support. This year, we are delighted to have Marks & Spencer's return as our headline partner for the 13th year running, and we are so thrilled that Costa Coffee will be joining them as another headline partner this year to make coffee morning even bigger and better for 2022. Last year, we raised over £11 million nationally, and we are hoping to top that this year. With the support of our official sponsor, Betty Crocker, anybody, including you, can bake a difference. There are so many reasons to sign up for one of Macmillan's coffee mornings. hosting a coffee morning is the perfect chance to get to catch up over a cuppa and a slice of something delicious, all for a great cause. 1 in 2 of us will be affected by cancer, and the money raised at Coffee Morning will help everyone with cancer live life as fully as they can. 98% of Macmillan's income comes through fundraising, and now, more than ever, we are so grateful to each and every one of our supporters going above and beyond to ensure that we can continue being there for those who need us most. Since its launch in 1990, Coffee Morning has raised over £290 million for Macmillan, and I am so excited to be part of this year's event where our support is more crucial than ever before. Thank you so much, and I hope to hear about some of your amazing coffee mornings and some of the tasty treats that our amazing supporters have managed to pull together, all in the name of a fantastic cause. Thank you.
So that was great to hear from Kirstine there and get a kind of real good background as to why the Macmillan do the promotion and how it's came about, things like that. Ever since we started our link up with Macmillan, our libraries have always kind of got involved with the coffee mornings. And have you any ideas of the rough kind of donation levels that we've kind of managed to reach in the past? And hopefully we'll kind of hit those kind of targets again this year.
Yeah, do you know what? One of the things that we've always been astounded with is everybody's willingness to get involved in Coffee Morning. The last couple of years have been really challenging for Macmillan, obviously because of the pandemic, but this is the first year we've kind of seen everybody coming back together. And, you know, for me, Coffee Morning, yes, it's great that we have a coffee and a cake, but what we tend to find, you know, over these last 10 years that we've seen across the whole of Scotland is that really it's much more, because it's around connectivity and it's around connecting communities. So where people may not have gone into a library, they probably pop in for the Macmillan Coffee Morning knowing that they're doing good, having been maybe touched by cancer. I think it's really important to mention that obviously, as in this day and age, it's 1 people in 2 that are affected by cancer. So now more than ever, it's really important that we get the communities participating in Coffee Morning. Those small amounts of money add up to that huge total that we've just heard from Kirstine there, at just under 300 million pre-pandemic. And I think if we can get back to that, it's amazing. And there's some you know, statistics from Macmillan, around £600 to £1,000 funds a Macmillan nurse for 1 week. So you can see that it's so vital that we do push forward with these coffee mornings. So yes, the total stands for Lanarkshire. I have a Lanarkshire total, which I'm sure you're not happy with. It's just under 15,000, but that's for the last kind of 6 years that we've been supporting with Coffee Morning and events. So that is huge. That is a huge amount of money. And again, we couldn't offer services like the ones we've got in North Lanarkshire Council, information and support, and our physical activity programs without people doing these type of events.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a great total that you just mentioned here, and we really do need to thank our library members for kind of helping to raise that over the last few years, and our staff kind of for really kind of coming together and really kind of putting on those mornings and things like that. What makes a kind of perfect coffee morning for you? What's the kind of ideal parts that are really must be included in a good coffee morning for Macmillan?
Cake. Well, obviously cake, but yeah, just to touch on that comment there about the library staff, I think sometimes people think that the Macmillan team have delivered these coffee mornings, and we totally don't. It's down to the goodwill and the kind of passion of the library staff, frontline staff who are putting on these coffee mornings. Yes, we support with the resources, but it's very much the library staff that are delivering with these. So a huge thank you. You know, for me, a good coffee, I've been to so many different kinds. There's been Macmillan Coffee Morning concerts. There's been, you know, theatre focused coffee mornings. I've even sung Kylie Minogue at a coffee morning at the Mitchell Library. Wow. And that video does exist. It's out in the Facebook page somewhere.
That's a good thing for later on.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been so many different types of coffee mornings, but, you know, like our project and like Macmillan Cancer Support, the work is about people. And for me, it's about getting people involved. And some of the stories that I've heard about how Macmillan have helped, and how, more specifically, more recently, how Macmillan in the libraries have helped. Because yes, historically, Macmillan have a clinical model, and so you would only get Macmillan support from a hospital. And so this last 10 years of rolling out into libraries has meant that people have support on their doorstep. They're not having to travel to the hospital for that support. They can just roll out of bed and rock up in somewhere familiar, in somewhere that they know is comfortable, which is huge. And I think, that's, for me, that's what Coffee Morning's all about. Yes, it's important we have the cake and the coffee and the fundraising, of course, but it's also about connecting communities. And I think there's no better time than now to sort of try and get people back into using venues and to connecting with other people.
Yeah, and of course this year's no different for that. I mean, we're obviously the last few years have been difficult in terms of doing things like that, but this year we hopefully can kind of get a few coffee mornings up and running and really kind of bring the community together and raise some of the more money for the project. Okay, I don't know. Are you aware of the dates for that we've got in libraries, or would you want me to fill in the blanks for you so that you know what we've got happening?
The majority of the coffee mornings are happening on the official date this year. There are a couple that are kind of skirting around the 29th or perhaps the following month, but generally it's going to be on the actual official date of coffee morning. We can link up to the website perhaps to make sure people have those specific dates. But yeah, definitely, that'd be great.
Yeah. At the moment when we're recording this, I do know that we've got 3 coffee mornings happening in our libraries. We've got one at Airdrie Library, one at Cumbernauld, and one at Chapel Hall. So the Airdrie Library one will be on the Thursday, the 29th, and the other 2 are on the official date on the 30th as well. So do watch out for them, and hopefully you can come along to them stuff. Now, I think there's something quite perfect about the kind of link between libraries and the coffee morning setting, don't you think? It's a perfect
definitely.
kind of place to kind of have it.
Yeah, do you know what? I thought about this question, and actually, one of the coffee mornings that sat with me over the years, and it's not the big ones you might expect, like the Mitchell Library, say, in Glasgow, but there was this much kind of smaller event happening. And I know it's a different local authority, but the Cooper Institute in Cathcart and the Motherwell Library coffee mornings have always stuck out in my mind. And again, they were small and intimate, but the amount they raised, because the community was so behind it, I think Motherwell raised around £700 that year, and the Cooper Institute was around 400. So those kind of smaller library, really embedded in the community, really communities getting behind them, they've always been the one that kind of stand out in my mind. And the stories that you hear, like I said earlier, about the support that people have received really emphasizes the fact of that give-get model, where someone's received perhaps a service from Macmillan because a loved one has been affected by cancer, and they're so willing to bake a cake or to give their time to support the library with that coffee morning. Yeah. And again, because I'm very people orientated and I love to be social, they're the stories that really stick out in my mind.
Yeah, and yes, and it gives that opportunity to kind of to find those stories out a little bit and have those conversations and really kind of get to know members of the community, why they're there, why they're getting involved, and all that sort of stuff.
That's
and it's
so
lovely.
True.
Yeah.
Because not only we've always got to remember that these services, our services, the Macmillan services, and library services, really, we're there to serve the public. And when you see services being utilised, and then you see the same people coming back to support with a coffee morning, it's really heartwarming, and it's kind of, you do feel like you're making a difference and doing a good job.
Yeah. And so now we're going to move on a little bit onto a little bit of kind of more bookish stuff, I think, for the next little question or two. So we'll all have seen the Bookstagram pictures of a coffee and a book. I think it makes a kind of perfect partner, especially the kind of in a looks way on those kind of pictures and stuff like that. I know that you're a big reader, Craig. So what is the book that is in your hands during your coffee breaks at the moment?
I am, at the moment, I'm going a little bit kind of nostalgic, and I've read this series of books like a I've read these books about 50 million gazillion times, and that's no exaggeration. And it's a teen series. It's by L.J. Smith, and it's called The Forbidden Game. And I'm really shocked as to why this hasn't been made into a feature film yet. I mean, it's the original, story of a mysterious being falling in love with a young girl, and then him zapping them all into this, I don't know whether you've read it, into this kind of mystery world where there's games and he's playing with them, and it's amazing. And still to this day, I find the books written by this person unbelievably hard to put down. I still am so connected to them, and I just have these every now and then. Because they're so easy to read and so quick, I'm like, oh, let me delve into the Forbidden Game world just once again. So yeah, I'm back there.
It's nice where we kind of have that kind of like sort of that love of one a series that you can kind of fall back in love with again, where we read again, and it's kind of nice to have that, and kind of just especially one that's kind of a bit kind of fantasy like that, where it's take you away from the kind of sort of normal world, if you like, and it's kind of
it totally just takes you away. And as soon as I've opened the book, it is a bit like Page Master, the film, which I still love to this day, where again, don't know why they've not remade that film. It was brilliant, where they get kind of zapped into the stories, and that's how I feel when I open the Forbidden Game series. I just get taken back to my youth. I remember all those feelings that were conjured up the first time I read it, and they're still there. And it's also a way of kind of grounding yourself, remembering all those feelings you felt back then, and it just, like I say, makes you realize who you are, not forgetting that life's very short and we shouldn't be bogged down by these day-to-day pressures.
And I know that another big author that you like to kind of tell everybody about how much it's fantastic is the Douglas Stewart books.
Yes. Yeah, the Douglas Stewart books have just been, especially, do you know what? I thought I would, maybe I need to reread it, but Young Mungo, I enjoyed it, I loved it, I thought it was brilliant, but I wasn't as kind of invested as Shuggie Bain, and I wonder if, because it kind of ventures into more serious topics and things like that. I'm saying that alcoholism is very serious in Shuggie Bain, so. But yeah, I love his style of writing, and this year definitely loved Young Mungo. And I'm very excited about the future of Douglas Stewart and where he's taking his writing, because you do get a sense of, you experience Scotland, especially Glasgow, in a way that you maybe haven't. And you, as a Yorkshire person, I learned a lot from his books when he's describing places and environments and how people are acting in them. So yeah, really enjoyed them.
Fantastic. And you actually inspired me at one point to start a kind of a Twitter thread of what books I've read through the year. Are you doing that this year, or did you do it?
Do you know what? I started doing it this year. Yeah, I love doing that, because when you look back, you can see, wow, I was really an avid reader that year, and I've still been reading, but I think partly this year I've kind of taken a bit of a break from social media. I've slowed it down a bit. Like I say, there's so much happening at the minute, a lot of people feeling overwhelmed, and I think we all have to do what we can do to make sure we are at our peak in terms of mental well-being. So I've just taken a break, but I will be back.
Yeah, fantastic. And I just thought it was such a lovely idea to kind of do that kind of thing and kind of keep it going through the whole entire year. And like I say, it's kind of gives you something to look back at and see what you read and how much you've read and what you thought of it and things like that. So
the different kind of books that you read as well. I mean, I was looking at last year's and I was thinking, wow, there's autobiographies, there's true crime, there's self-help. And it wasn't until I was kind of reviewing them and putting the stars down and giving my own, I was only giving kind of one-liners around how I felt about the books. But yeah, I looked back and thought, wow, there's no one type of book that I'm kind of leaning towards here. This is a bit of an eclectic taste.
and that's a great thing to have, because it means you can enjoy so many different books as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
Do you want to give us a little bit of an update in general about the Macmillan services that's happening in libraries and
of course,
things like that?
Yeah, we are just looking to restart our service in Wishaw Library. We're just working with the supervisors and the library staff over there, and that will be the last one we need to reopen from pre-pandemic. So we're really pleased about that. We've got the volunteers on board. They've just been trained by the lovely Julian, our volunteer and services coordinator, and we're thrilled to have these volunteers on board. If we've not mentioned the services in North Lanarkshire, South Lanarkshire and across Scotland actually on behalf of Macmillan, they are all volunteer led, so they go through training to ensure that they're equipped to support people in their communities. The services have finally started to see people coming back. I think there was a little bit of concern that potentially, having been so long, people weren't that willing to come back out, but they've come back now, and our numbers that we're seeing and the people that we are supporting has returned to pre-COVID levels, if not higher, which is really, really brilliant. And we support people with access to financial support, transport to and from people's appointments, and just as you were talking about and as I were talking about, the power of conversation, the fact that people can just come in and have a chat. It might not be about cancer, they might be cancer talked out. So we're there as a neutral body just to listen, and I think that is so important still today. And that's not something that you can get, from the hospital. We support the fact that they're doing the physicality of cancer, and we're complementing that with the holistic kind of approach with everything else.
Yeah, and like we were giving a shout out to the library staff earlier for the great work during the coffee mornings, we do need to give a shout out as well, I think, to the volunteers for the McMillan services, because they do some great work, and it really wouldn't work without them and in their libraries. So they do some fantastic work, don't they?
100%, yeah. And the dedication that we've seen from not only the volunteers delivering the information and support service and physical activity programs, but the lead volunteers as well, who kind of support Gillian with the operational delivery. And as you say, and echo the fact that if it wasn't for them coming back after the pandemic, we wouldn't be able to deliver these services. It's just not possible. So a huge thank you. And if you do want to get involved in volunteering, the link will be somewhere, Chris, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll put the link to the volunteering in the description of the podcast, and make sure folk can get it, because I can't remember it off the top of my head myself.
Yeah,
so we'll definitely put the link in there for you guys to be able to access if you want to become one of the Macmillan volunteers in our service. And it's a great thing to get involved in, and our services are greatly appreciative of everyone that's done some great work for that. Now, I think, Craig, we should set our listeners a little bit of a challenge for the coffee mornings. I was thinking that we should get them to try and share a picture or something like that of their favourite cake that they find in one of our libraries on coffee morning. What do you think? Do you think that's a good idea?
Absolutely. Just on that subject, what is your favourite cake? Because I've not shared what my favourite cake is.
Oh, see, I'm a sweet tooth person, so I don't really have so much of a favourite. I just like cake.
Don't have a favourite? What?
No, you put me on the spot. I think I'll go with a caramel shortcake. I think I really like caramel shortcake. Yeah.
Do you know what mine is? And this came from the fact that one of our lead volunteers, Mary, one year, she's done a cake nearly every year for McMillan. Some of them you will have seen have been amazing. She did did you see the one that she did where it was a service? So
yeah,
I think she'd made little kind of booklets from Macmillan. She'd got people in the service. It was incredible. We've got pictures. We'll share them with you and you can post them out. But my favourite cake is red velvet cake. It's just so nice.
Yeah. Like I say, I don't think I've came across a cake yet that I don't like. But I think if you're going to press me for pick one, I think I'll go with a caramel shortcake. I think
right. Yeah, good choice. Good choice.
But the listeners out there, you can go to one of the coffee mornings, share a picture of what you find, and if it's your favourite cake, even better, on our social media, tag us in it, and we'll retweet and post, share out further your great kind of sweet finds that you find in our libraries for our coffee morning days. I think that'd be a nice little touch if we do manage to get to that. Now, if you do want to find out any more about our coffee mornings, you can do so by going to our website, which you'll find at www.culturenail.co.uk/coffee mornings, and you'll find all the dates of the library ones, and if we do find any other ones within our services as well, I will put them in there too. And there'll also be a donation link that was set up by eLibrary for you to be able to donate as well if you want to do that on there. So do visit our website and you'll find out all the details of it. And hopefully you'll come along and enjoy the coffee mornings. So I think that'd be a fantastic way to spend the day. And Craig has really kind of given us a great background as to why it's such a great idea to come along. So thank you, Craig, for coming along. That's really all my questions. That's all my questions I've got for you, Craig.
Oh, good, thank you. Great host.
You've managed to survive the grilling from me for that one. So thank you for coming on. And we'll end the podcast with just a few wee service updates as well for you guys, so you know all about what's going on other than the coffee mornings. We do have a Playlist for Life first anniversary party happening at Coatbridge Library on Thursday the 29th of September at 2 p.m. It also happens to be National Playlist Day as well, so watch out for a special playlist that we'll post on our social media on that day as well, that has been put together by our staff for our ultimate party mix. And Craig, if you've not submitted a song for that, feel free and we'll add it to the list.
I've already done it.
Would it be Mariah Carey?
It was a Mariah Carey song, correct.
And other than that as well, we've also got Libraries Week is fast approaching, and we are working on loads of great online content to celebrate that as well. Libraries Week will run from the 3rd to the 9th of October. And finally, we have finally got the winners for our poetry competition that we've been running for a while, and we have just finished creating the ebook for the poetry competition, and that will go live on Borrow Box on National Poetry Day, which is Thursday the 6th of October. So that's something very exciting to watch out for as well. If you've enjoyed listening to this podcast, don't forget you can leave us some feedback using the hashtag FLB podcast, or by emailing us at librarypodcast@northland.gov.uk. But that's all for us for today, guys. Thank you for listening, and thanks again for Craig for joining me. So
thank you.
We'll be back again soon with more podcast episodes soon. Bye for now. Bye.